Act posted on the wall near the TV screen. You can refer to that act at any time during the course of this meeting if you so desire. And we will commence with a couple of proclamations. The first one is America Recycles Day. I assume Beatrice is going to do likewise. I'll read that proclamation now. Whereas Beatrice recognizes the importance of protecting and preserving our natural resources and adopting conscientious habits that will improve our daily lives and bring about a cleaner, safer, and more sustainable environment. And whereas, although there has been a significant increase in the amount of recycling in Beatrice to date, we must also continue to focus on other initiatives such as waste reduction, composting, the reuse of products and materials, and purchasing recycled products. And whereas by encouraging businesses, state agencies, nonprofit organizations, schools, and individuals to celebrate America Recycles Day 2014, we can further promote recycling as an environmentally efficient and economically smart habit. And whereas state and community leaders can help encourage recycling by informing citizens about local recycling options, they can also help foster greater awareness of the need to expand collections programs by promoting the benefits of recycling investments for business. And whereas it is important that all Beatrice citizens become involved in recycling activities and learn more about the many recycled and recyclable products available to them as consumers, it is also fitting for Beatrice to celebrate America Recycles Day 2014 and take action by educating citizens about the recycling options available in our community. Now, therefore, I, Dennis Schuster, Mayor of the City of Beatrice, do hereby recognize November 15th, 2014 as America Recycles Day. And I know I saw Linda Grell in the audience. Linda, if you'd like to say a few words, you're certainly welcome to.
Will that pick up from there? Or do I need to shut it?
Bend it down a little bit, it'll get there.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I just really wanted to say just really shortly, quickly, that the Keep America Beautiful ad campaign this year is Give Your Garbage a New Life. And so they recommend that everybody picks one thing. Perhaps you're all a recycler, but try to pick one more thing to recycle to add to what you're already doing. And we're doing an All Metals Day, and I'd just like to promote that. Sanitary Garbage is offering a roll-off for us, and down at their facility, it's a drive-through, and we're accepting all kinds of metals from little bolts to old bicycles, and whatever proceeds are generated, we're going to hopefully buy some recycled park benches for the elementary schools. Most of them already have one, but most of them could use another one too. So just wanted to say that, and thank you very much. And you all have an example of recycled plastic. Gave you pens made out of recycled water bottles. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Here's a proclamation if you'd like to take that with you. Okay, next we have a proclamation for National Nurse Practitioners Week, and I'll read that proclamation now. Whereas there are more than 192,000 licensed nurse practitioners in the United States, with 1,300 NPs practicing in the state of Nebraska, providing high-quality, cost-effective, patient-centered, personalized health care for nearly half a century. And whereas NPs have graduate, advanced education, most have master's degrees, and an increasing number have doctorates. And whereas NPs order, perform, and interpret diagnostic tests, diagnose and treat acute and chronic conditions, and prescribe medications and other treatments. And whereas 19 states and the District of Columbia have granted full practice authority to nurse practitioners, giving patients more direct access to the primary, acute, and specialty care services that NPs provide. And whereas NPs are truly partners in the health care of their patients, so that in addition to clinical services, NPs focus on health promotion, disease prevention, health education, and counseling, guiding patients to make smarter health and lifestyle choices. And whereas the excellent safety and cost effectiveness of the care provided by NPs is established and well documented, whereas the faith and trust that patients have in NP-delivered health care is evidenced by the more than 916 million visits made to NPs annually, and whereas the majority of patients support legislation for greater access to NP services, and whereas NPs provide health care to people of all ages and in diverse health care settings, such as private office practice, hospitals, long-term care facilities, schools, state and local health departments, managed care facilities, and retail-based clinics. And whereas more than 18% of NPs practice in rural settings with populations of less than 25,000, and where it is documented that patients of NPs are given more personal time and attention than they traditionally receive from the other healthcare providers. Now therefore, I, Dennis Schuster, Mayor of the City of Beatrice, do hereby recognize November 9th through the 15th, 2014 as National Nurse Practitioners Week, in recognition of the many contributions that this dedicated group of healthcare professionals makes to the health and well-being of the people in the communities they service in this great state and throughout the country. And I think we have several of you. You're all certainly welcome to come forward. Please feel free to sit down and say a few words if you'd like.
Do you want a picture? That'd be great. Yes.
Could be his last one. Make it pretty, it could be your last one.
Probably is.
Tell us where to stand.
Oh, can't jump up and photo palm it.
Short person.
Oh. There we go.
Well, we'd like to thank you for sharing the proclamation celebrating National Nurse Practitioners Week, November 9th through the 15th. Jolene Pike is an adult nurse practitioner. I'm Mary Sherling. I'm family and psych mental health. And Juanita Kemp is a family nurse practitioner. So we have a wide variety of experience. And I would just like to add, in addition to what you read on the proclamation, we are a solution to the primary care crisis in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we will move on to the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests. I'll now read the items on this evening's consent agenda. Item A, approve agenda as submitted. Item B, receive and place on file all notices pertaining to this meeting. Item C, receive and place on file all materials having any bearing on this meeting. Item D, approval of minutes of regular meeting on October 20th, 2014 as on file in the City Clerk's office. Item E, approval of minutes of work session on October 27th, 2014 as on file in the City Clerk's office. Item F1, approval of claims of Beatrice Humane Society in the amount of $5,000. Item F2, approval of balance of Treasurer's Report of Claims in the amount of $337,296.19. Item G, approval of Boswell Report of Claims in the amount of $42,199.47. Item H, approval of change order and increase in the amount of $3,080.95 for a total contract price of $80,698.05 to R.L. Tiemann Construction for the 2014 alley projects. Item I, resolution number 5689, entering into a contract for services with Beatrice Mechanical Service Incorporated to replace the air handler and related HVAC elements within the Beatrice Police Department building located at 201 North 5th. Item J, resolution number 5690, entering into an intergovernmental agreement with the Nebraska Department of Environmental Quality for a grant from the Stormwater Management Plan program. Item K, resolution number 5691, authorizing the city on behalf of Neapco Components LLC to enter into the Nebraska Department of Economic Development Site and Building Development Fund Business Recruitment and Expansion Project Contract number 15-01-88. Item L, resolution number 5692, directing review of prior continuing disclosure undertakings and related disclosures, and authorizing participation in the Security and Exchange Commission's Municipalities Continuing Disclosure Cooperation Initiative. Item M, resolution number 5693, entering into an agreement with Olson and Associates to complete the energy element for the city's comprehensive plan. And item N, approval of a special designated liquor license application of CNC Processing for tasting events on 11/21, 11/28, and 12/5/2014, all from 10 a.m. until 1 a.m. at 2312 North 6th Street in Beatrice. Those are the items on the consent agenda. First, anyone on the council would like an item removed for individual discussion? Phil?
I need to abstain on F1.
Okay, the record will note that. Does anyone in the audience want an item removed for individual discussion? Back to the council. Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that all the items listed under the consent agenda be approved, accepted, and/or ratified as presented.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Claybaugh, that the items listed on the consent agenda be approved, accepted, and/or ratified as presented. Is there a discussion on the motion? Okay, your vote, please. The motion carries 7-0. Next, we have several public hearings. First one will be a public hearing on the application of GNS Corporation doing business as Getting Split, 301 South 6th Street, Suites 1, 2, and 3, for a Class D liquor license. And that public hearing is now open. And Chief, if I could have you come forward. And do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do. Bruce Lang, Chief of Police. The Police Department did the standard background investigation, and there's nothing uncovered which would preclude us from recommending this for approval.
Okay, we have questions for Chief Lang?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Rob here? I believe so. Okay, next, is Rob Muro here? Rob, why don't you come on up? We have to swear you in, too. You'll get used to this routine. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And if you just present the Community Planning Department's report.
The planning report was completed by interim building inspector Rex Barons. Basically shows the existing zoning was central business district, CBD. Existing land use is CBD. Adjacent land uses to the north is a chiropractic office, CBD. South is office space, CBD. To the east is Cleveland's service station, which is now closed, CBD, and strip mall, which is also CBD. Analysis of the neighborhood effects, would there be no effects?
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Muro? Okay, if you'd submit your report, please. Thank you. Next, would anyone in the audience like to be heard in favor of granting this license? Jess, why don't you come on up? And since this is a state liquor hearing, we do have to swear you in. So if you raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And if you just state your name and address for the record, and feel free to say what you'd like.
Jess Petrosky, 200 South LaSalle, Beatrice, Nebraska. I'm a regional supervisor for Getting Split. We have had numerous requests from customers to broaden our from beer to liquor. And we didn't have the opportunity, but when the bread store became available, we had the opportunity to do as such. So we would definitely appreciate, if you guys would approve the license. I think that we've proved ourselves over the years. We've been in that location probably close to 30 years, I believe. So, do any of you have any questions for me?
Questions for Mr. Petrosky?
You've been doing this a long time, haven't you, Jess?
Pardon?
Liquor license, you've dealt
Yes,
with
I've owned a liquor license here at the Brass Rail. I owned that for like 8 years, and prior to that, I was with the company. I had liquor licenses in my name, and I've had upwards to 36 liquor licenses in my name at one time.
Any further questions for Mr. Petrosky? Thank you. And is there anyone else in the audience that would like to be heard in support of granting this liquor license? Please come forward. Likewise, is there anyone in the audience that would like to appear in opposition to this liquor license? Please come forward. If there is no other testimony to be taken,
Mayor, I move that the public hearing be closed at 7:16 PM.
Second.
moved by Catlin, seconded by Cook to close the public hearing at 7:15 PM. Discussion on the motion. Can you vote, please? Motion carries 7-0.
Mayor, I move that the application of GNS Corporation doing business as Getting Split, 301 South 6th Street, Suites 1, 2, and 3 for a Class D liquor license be recommended to the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission for approval.
Second.
Moved by Callen, seconded by Party, that the application of GNS Corporation doing business as Getting Split, 301 South 6th Street, 6 Suites 1, 2, and 3 for a Class D liquor license be recommended to the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission for approval. Have any discussion from council members? How about the audience? I'd ask for your vote, please. That motion carries 7-0. The recommendation will be forwarded on to the Liquor Commission. Next, we were scheduled to hold a public hearing on the application of Philip and Lori Paget to rezone property on West Scott Street. The application for a zoning change has been withdrawn by the Pagets. They do not wish to pursue the zoning change any further, so we will dispense with that public hearing and any associated ordinances that came with that. So if any of you in the audience were here for that particular matter, sorry, apparently the word didn't get out as much as it should have. Okay, next up, I'll introduce resolution number 5694, entering into an agreement with the Beatrice Area Chamber of Commerce, Main Street Beatrice, and Engage to fund a coordinated community branding project.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 5694 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Morgan, that resolution number 5694 be passed and adopted. Laura and Michael, I've seen you guys both. You guys want to come on up in case we need you? Is there anybody from Engage here? No. Okay.
My daughter's getting married on Saturday, she's busy.
Okay. Well, in case we need you, if you guys would come forward. Tobias, you want to go into the details?
Sure. This is what we talked to you about at a work session maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. This is the effort that the Beatrice Public Schools originally started and then asked for partners, and Chamber and Main Street and Engage and the city all stepped forward and said we would like to be partners in this process. Essentially, again, this process will be an agreement with FES, and that's one of the contracts on your list. Coordinate with them. They will be the company that we hire to do the interviews both within these various groups and amongst the entire city at large, and help us come up with that coordinated branding effort for all of the various organizations to have a common voice when we speak about the city and about what's going on. The agreement before you tonight is an agreement that outlines kind of what everybody's responsibility is. Again, the city will be taking the lead role in this, and we'll have the contract with FES. As you see in the memos on page 101 of your packet, Engage has agreed to contribute $5,000, the Chamber $1,000, and Main Street $500. That leaves about $18,000 left, and the city and the school will be splitting those fees evenly. So that's kind of the breakdown on how those expenses are being shared.
Laura and Michael, you want to add anything to that?
I think we've discussed this with you guys before, and it's pretty much just, as Tobias said, continuing on, and thank you for letting us all be a part of it.
I would echo that. I think it was great for the Chamber Board to step up and say, yes, we'll find this in our budget to support it. They believe in the cause as well. Really happy to be on the cutting edge of something that's not typical with all the entities coming together. They're really happy to be part of that, so thank you.
The floor is open for discussion from council members. Bill?
One thing you might, with the branding, look back at the Beatrice Vision 2020 document. There's actually a whole section on the branding of what they've already done, a bunch of the legwork for that, so that might help you with getting started on. They had a whole few days of talking to people and things, so you might look at that, because it might get you started without having to spend so much money, because a lot of the interviews were already taken forward, so.
Ted?
Time frame.
I believe the contract calls for about 13 weeks for completion. We added in a little extra time due to holidays, trying to schedule some of those things, but by the end of February, I think is when they're anticipating having this project completed.
Okay, yeah, I didn't, and I read through that, and I thought that that's what it said, but I didn't know when they had intended to start, and so end of February-ish?
End of February.
Great.
Additional council discussion? How about discussion from anyone in the audience? please feel free. If there is no discussion, your vote, please. And motion carries 7-0. Resolution number 5694 has been passed and adopted. Next, I'll introduce resolution number 5695, entering into an agreement with the Beatrice Public Schools to fund a coordinated community branding project.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 5695 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Party, that resolution number 5695 be passed and adopted. Tobias?
That's the same thing. The only difference is between the city and the school, we have to have an interlocal agreement, so there's some additional language that's required in the agreement. That's why we didn't have just one agreement. There's a separate agreement with the school, but it lays out that the school will pay the city the $9,000 plus half of any overages that may occur.
Did they vote on that?
They will vote on it next Monday night.
Any discussion, council members? Audience? Your vote, please. Motion carries 7-0. Resolution number 5695 has been passed and adopted. Next, we'll introduce resolution number 5696, entering into a community branding project agreement with FES LLC.
Mayor, I move the resolution number 5696 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Party, that resolution number 5696 be passed and adopted. And Tobias?
This is the actual agreement between the city and FES for the community branding project. So it, again, lays out what the total cost is of $24,000, timeline of 13 weeks, and then again, what the deliverables will be at the end of the project.
Discussion from council members? From the audience, anyone? Your vote, please, on passage. Motion carries 7-0. Resolution number 5696 has been passed and approved. Next, I'll introduce resolution number 5697, approving a union contract with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge number 45A.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 5697 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Langdale, that resolution number 5697 be passed and adopted. We have been in negotiation with all three of our unions for the past couple of months. We've come to a tentative agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police and later on the firefighters. Tobias, would you like to go over the highlights, the things that are different in this contract?
Yes, if you look on page 119, there's a memo in your packet, it kind of lays them out, but essentially, it's a one-year contract. In the past, we've had multi-year contracts, but as we explained to the union, due to the Affordable Care Act and the uncertainty of what we need to change our health insurance plans for over the next couple of years, we felt it was best to have a one-year contract and be able to allow us some flexibility to work into those changes. The second thing you'll see is a 2% increase across the board. All employees, all classifications is a 2% rate or wage increase. You'll notice other than that, the bulk of the other changes were some administrative issues. There was a labor and safety management committee in the contract that nobody could remember who was on it or what they did or the last time they met. And so we agreed that that was probably best just to remove that. The grievance procedure before had some odd steps in it. We agreed to kind of streamline that process. Again, the grievance procedure process hasn't been used in FOP for a number of years. In fact, nobody can remember the last time it was used, but we felt it was best to kind of streamline that process while we're at it. And then also the accumulation of sick bank hours. 2 contracts ago, we reduced the number of hours that employees were able to carry. Some people who had extra hours, we put it into what they call their sick bank, and so we clarified on how to use those moving forward. Those are essentially the big changes in the contract.
Okay, floor is open to discussion. Ted?
I'm going to have a no vote on this. I told you guys through the negotiations, and although it's not very popular, and I'm sure that it's not going to make a difference, I'm sure this will pass tonight, but I have some problems with it. First of all, and really just three things. First off, I don't have a problem with anyone working for the police department getting a pay raise. Whether or not they're doing their jobs and doing it well, that's not for me to say. I'm strictly policy here. And I know that 2% doesn't seem like a huge amount of money, and when we talked about it through the discussions, it really isn't. And I don't think it's a matter of creating a shortfall for the city. The problems that I have with it are that I'm opposed to a flat percentage increase. Those on the bottom don't get as big a pay increase as those on the top. If this was a 2% increase for total salaries and we divided it equally among the employees, I'd have less of a problem with it. Part of the other problem that I have is, and I think that creates problems, it separates that. You get a bigger separation over the years. And it quickly gets us to those employees that get to the top of that pay scale. Another problem that I have with it is the majority of the police department are already over 100% of the other communities in our array. When we compare our salaries to these other communities that we make these salary comparisons to, we're at the top. And it makes it difficult not just for our community, but the other communities that are trying to negotiate contracts. We're dragging them along. They may not be as financially stable as we are. And I think that we have the responsibility to them as well. And I guess lastly, I look at our community in general and think, is this pretty much how everybody in the private sector got treated? And I would question that. I sat here in the early 90s and listened to the discussion that we had to get our public employees more money to get them above the private sector, or we would lose them to the private sector. Well, we didn't lose people to the private sector in the 90s when we were below that. They had a secure job. They liked what they were doing. Now that we're above, we're strikingly above a lot of the private sector jobs in our community with these public sector jobs, and we keep compounding the problem. Once again, I don't think 2%'s out of line. I just am voting against it. I said through the negotiating part of it that I could have gone with a 1%, and that's where I would have been. But I'm voting no against it. I'm voting against it for those reasons, and I don't. And if it would fail tonight and we go back to the board and discuss it again, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I'm voting no. So that's where I'm at.
Thanks, Ted. Anybody else like to speak?
Yes.
Phil?
Just on the unused sick leave for the employees, if they leave our service and we are paying back the 50%, do we have that like banked in an account, or where does that, if I have 360 hours and you're paying me 50% of it, what account does that come out of?
It comes out of each individual department's, their budget. What we try to do is at the beginning of the budget year, look to see what employees we anticipate might be retiring at the end of the year or throughout that year, and then budget accordingly. No, we don't have a separate savings account set aside to pay those claims out. We simply pay for those out of operating cash.
I just started looking, Chief's getting a little older, and we're thinking about time, and just want to make sure we had the money for him. Okay, thank you.
Further council discussion?
He's younger than me.
Let anyone in the audience like to speak, please come forward. Okay, if there's no further discussion, your vote, please. The motion carries 6-1 with Council Member Fairbanks voting no. Resolution number 5697 has been passed and adopted. Next, I'll introduce resolution number 5698, approving a lease agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police for use of a portion of the second floor of the Beatrice Police Station for a health and fitness training center.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 5698 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, second by Party, that resolution number 5698 be passed and adopted. It's kind of a tradition. This agreement seems to ride along with the contract with the FOP. Police union operates a weight room fitness center. I guess in the old days we used to call it a weight room. Now it's more of a fitness center. for use of its members, I believe for all city employees as well. Or
That's what we were told.
that's what we were told this morning anyhow. So we lease this to these guys for, what, $1 a year? Something like that. And allow them to use the portion of the upstairs that we currently have no use for. So with that, any discussion from council members?
I'll
Bill.
just throw this out one more time. On this agreement, I know it's only for $1. I just wonder about the insurance, if our insurance is actually covers this weight room / fitness center. Why I bring this up, I had a friend, some people know him, but he was working out in one of these types of facilities. The machine fell over and cut his finger off. Guess what? They sued the people that own the building, not the people that own the property. And they won for $1 million some. I'm just wondering if we should be looking at our insurance policy to make sure, if there is an accident up there, that we are covered for it.
It's certainly something we can double check on. One of the first, I think, arguments will be is whether or not the individual was on duty when they were injured. I think that would probably be one of the first things to sort out. But we certainly can check into it and see
I'm just
how our
thinking,
insurance company would carry it.
accidents
cover it.
happen and we would be the biggest pockets around, so. Give something for Gregory to do. Let's grow a mustache.
Any further council discussion?
3 under the bus.
Oh, is that?
He wanted to go upstairs. He didn't know he could use it. He wants to go up there and work out now.
Yeah. I thought he was, look at him.
Anyone in the audience like to speak? Okay, your vote, please. Motion carries 7-0. Resolution 5698 has been passed and approved. Next, to introduce resolution number 5699, approving a union contract with the firefighters union, local number 1098.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 5699 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Langdale, that resolution number 5699 be passed and adopted. Very similar in salary raises to the police union contract, 2% across the board. However, there were a few other adjustments made to this contract to, I think, maybe clarify some positions and steps. Tobias, would you like to go into that in brief
In brief detail.
summary? Brief detail, yeah.
Once again, it's a one-year contract, and as we did with the FOP contract, we did kind of clarify the grievance procedure. Again, there were some odd steps in there, and asked Chief earlier, when's the last time we used it, and again, nobody can remember when last time we used the grievance procedure. So it's always best to write the rules when you're getting along, though. Again, one thing we did was, in the old contract, we had a provision there called EMT Intermediate. That classification, if you will, for EMTs went away a number of years ago, and so it kind of just lingered in the contract with nobody using it for probably about the last decade. They've come out with a new one called Advanced EMT. Essentially, it's an EMT. It's allowed to do a few more procedures, if you will. So we added that into the contract to replace the EMT Intermediate. I think they get an additional 42 cents per hour if they have that designation, and nobody today has that designation, and they're still writing the rules on what it takes to become qualified as an advanced EMT. We did remove the fire captains. For some reason, they've been listed in the pay scale in the union contract, although they weren't part of the union contract. So we did pull those guys out of it, and they'll have their own separate pay scale, separate from the union contract. And the performance-based increases, the fire department has kind of set up a unique hybrid, if you will. Rather than the straight step plan where you automatically moved across based upon number of years, and they had a system where if you pass certain tests, you move to the next step on the scale. We did modify that a little bit. One of the classes that was listed on there before was a firefighter 2 class. That class has kind of gone away and is not available like it used to be. And so we modified the step plan, if you will, a little bit to provide the firefighter 2 or some other training. We added some flexibility in there to make it a little easier for guys to obtain some of the training. Before, some of the training was only available maybe far away from home or not every year. And then the other issue we had was in The contract, we had a step H. There was some disagreement as to whether or not anybody could obtain step H. The practice in the past had been the only people who obtained that step, the highest step, were senior drivers. And the practice had always been the senior driver, there's only one per shift, so there was only 3 in the department. But there was nothing that prevented anybody else being named a senior driver. And so when you went to go look at comparability, the argument came down to, do you include step H or do you not include step H? And so we removed that limitation of it only being allowed to senior drivers. I think now to be a step H, I think you have to have an associate's degree, you have to have so many hours of community service, you have to have 50% of callbacks, and you have to have, I think, 6 hours of community service in the previous year. So there are some criteria you have to meet to get there, but we did clarify that one, so going forward, there will no longer be any disagreement as to whether or not how you use step H when looking at other comparable cities.
Okay, the floor is open for discussion to council.
Same boat, same arguments.
Okay.
Won't rehash it.
Anybody else on the council? Anybody in the audience like to speak? Okay, your vote, please, on the resolution. That motion carries 6-1 with Councilmember Fairbanks voting no. Resolution number 5699 has been passed and approved. Next, I'll introduce an ordinance vacating lots 1, 2, and Lot A, Northridge Village Edition.
Mayor, I move that said ordinance be given number 14-029. The title therefore be approved, the rules be suspended, and said ordinance be read by number only 3 times tonight.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Cook, that said ordinance be given number 14-029. The title thereof be approved, the rules be suspended, and said ordinance be read by number only 3 times tonight. A motion to suspend the rules is non-debatable. Your vote, please. Motion carries 7-0. Ordinance number 14-029 by number the first time, ordinance number 14-029 by number the second time, and ordinance number 14-029 by number the third and final time tonight.
Mayor, I move that ordinance number 14-029 be passed and approved.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Cook, that ordinance number 14-029 be passed and approved. Tobias, would you like to explain the why and the how?
Yes, this Northridge Village is, if you will, this is Southwick's development there at Highway 77 and Sergeant Road. It's that development. When they initially came in and platted it, they put in the first building where Southwick has his location, and then Godfather's, and I don't remember what's on the other side of Southwick's, but that was the first building. Then they came back and did an administrative subdivision and added the building to the north, which is the Mexican restaurant, the hair place, and that building. They now want to add another building to the west, and they need to do another administrative subdivision. However, our rules state you're only allowed to do 1 administrative subdivision. So they have to replat the property. So that's why you see the plat coming in tonight, is to draw another line on there to divide the lots so they can build additional buildings, but you can only do 1 administrative subdivision. The other thing this plat does is that it cleans up the location of our easements, where our utilities were located and where our easements were at didn't quite match up, and so we clarify that as well in this plat.
Okay, this portion vacates the existing plat. Is there discussion? Go
I've got
ahead.
a question, although probably not germane to this part of the discussion.
Go ahead and ask it.
Yeah, well, and if it's not, you can say, no, it's not, you gotta ask it at a different time, and I get that. This doesn't deal with the building itself, it just does with the plat in the ground. The question I've got is this area was under TIF funding, and we negotiated with them for a certain period of time, number of years. I argued against the amount of time, wanted it to be a shorter time period. Can that be revisited before, as they're building this? Obviously,
No, the TIF isn't for the whole property, so that won't, replatting it will not impact the TIF.
okay,
If you want to go back and modify the TIF agreement, you can always modify agreement, but you got to go back and talk to all the parties involved and see if they're willing and interested in doing so.
They weren't willing before, I just wondered, so.
So if they construct an additional building, would they
Theoretically, they could pay off their TIF sooner than initially.
They could pay it off sooner, or they could try to ask for an additional TIF project or not?
They could, yes.
Okay. So there may be some opportunities there, one way or the other.
Still really probably not germane to this discussion.
Yeah.
That's okay. Thanks for the answer.
Yeah. Okay, further discussion on the ordinance? From the audience? Your vote, please. Motion carries 7-0. Ordinance number 14-029, oops, has been passed and approved, sorry. Trying to go back into rewind there. Next, I'm going to introduce an ordinance approving the plat of North Ridge Village First Edition.
Mayor, I move the said ordinance be given number 14-030. The title therefore be approved. The rules be suspended, and said ordinance be read by number only 3 times tonight.
Second.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Party, that said ordinance be given number 14-030. The title thereof be approved, the rules be suspended, and said ordinance be read by number only 3 times tonight. A motion to suspend the rules is non-debatable. Your vote, please. That motion carries 7-0. Ordinance number 14-030 by number the first time, ordinance number 14-030 by number the second time, and ordinance number 14-030 by number the third and final time tonight.
Mayor, I move that ordinance number 14-030 be passed and approved.
Second. Moved by Catlin, seconded by Morgan, that ordinance number 14-030 be passed and approved. I think we more or less covered this in the last discussion, but I guess any discussion, questions, comments from anyone? From the audience, anyone? Back to the council. Okay, your vote, please. Motion carries 7-0. Ordinance number 14-030 has been passed and approved. Next, we have the public forum. The purpose of the public forum is for the presentation of an item by the general public to the city council for consideration at a later date. There will be no discussion or action taken by the council at this time. Does anyone in the audience have an item they'd like to bring to the council's attention by way of the public forum? Please come forward. Okay, seeing none, I think we're just about out of bullets. Next meeting is November 17th here, and work session on November 24th here as well. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I move that the meeting be adjourned at 7:44 p.m.
Moved by Catlin, seconded by Party. The meeting be adjourned at 7:44 p.m. Your vote, please. We're adjourned.
Will that be your last meeting?
What's that?
17th?
What's that?
Will that be your last meeting, or is it December?
No. 1st of December would be my last meeting. I'll be here for about 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'm thinking of doing the Bo Pelini rant. Yeah, just like you did at the after the Ohio State game. You can all kiss my ass right on the way. Fucking door.
Are you hot?
I'm guiding. I don't know. It's too expensive.
I don't know, I got it. Julie said we didn't, I tried to double check, I didn't hear it.
I punched it again, sometimes that switches a little.
I keep hearing that our TV coverage is going on.
Does it? So maybe that switches.
I'll see Casper Saturday night. Stop me at class. She said, oh, it goes for 2 minutes and it's gone.
Back. Don't you take any. I know what's in there. I know.
Yeah, I have lots of stuff there.
I'll say, hey,
And we have stuff for Pete to sign.
John Hancock.
And then if you want to sign his contract, or you want to do that later after.
no.
Which contract's that?
No, I just know it's
He's signing, and then you'll sign his contract.
I have to have my attorney review.
3:30
Have
on
you sign both?
3 o'clock on Friday. Take it from there and 5:30.
Oh, you're not done yet, sir.
Saturday morning.
This ain't a Bar and Bartle still, is it?
See
I
where
have a lot of witnesses here in case this happens.
Yeah, it
the
is.
little orange ones
Right
right
on,
here.
get it.
These guys approved you signing this.
I go down, they all go down with me.
Not necessarily you.
Oh, man. Actually, I'm innocent because I really can't see what I'm writing. I'm signing. So
Yeah, the Engage board wants.
I've signed deals on eye surgeries that I couldn't even read.
Like the 21st.
God, what are we
Yeah, something like that.
entering into here?
Whenever you guys meet. You guys meet on
Well, we have like 4 copies of this contract.